a generation gap translator app. Whatever I type into the input is going to be translated into generational slang. First step, create React app, and I already have an error. Let's try something else. Okay, Yarn's better. I know these warnings when I'm doing Yarn install are not a big deal, but they bother me. At long last, a fresh, clean slate. Step 1, I have a little place to paste in whatever it is that you want to say to be translated. Please note, however, that this does absolutely nothing at all. It is a little bit cool that it does restrict how much I type inside here, only 140. Now it's time to drag in some of these characters I drew, because we got to have some characters at the bottom who say the thing that you gave them, but from like each little generation's voice. Okay, cursor. I want you to put all these characters at the bottom of the page. Place each character at the bottom of the page so that they're evenly distributed. Not a terrible result. It's got a pleasant Children of the Corn vibe. As you can see, we're going to be able to put in whatever comment you want here, and then these folks down here will say them in each generation's patois. I am paranoid and I do not trust Cursor one bit, so I will always check in every single thing that I do. Oh, and I did not ask for this, but Cursor saw it fit to make it so that every time I hover one of my characters, they do a little bounce. Pretty good. Here is a full list of all the generations we support. I got this from Claude. It's creating a utility file to store the generation data. Always got to watch where it's creating its files. It loves to create things out of your selected directory. Okay, so now app.js is using our generation translations. Okay, let's see. Wow, now each of these characters are not along the bottom of the page. We're gonna have to fix that later. Hi, I'm feeling amazing today. How, we may ask, is it actually coming up with all of these amazing translations? Text replace. Generation Alpha, epic, fire, bestie, questionable. Gen Z, hey bestie, bussin', slaps. Millennials, literally so good. We're gonna have to bring an LLM into this because this is a little bit flat. Layout on here is completely messed up. I don't like that I can scroll down here, but can't get distracted. It's time to incorporate an LLM in here because I want these characters to actually say interesting translations, not just static text replacement. How will I do that? I don't know yet, but I can look at my colleague Greg's project on his SpecStory share. He definitely uses an LLM in this project, and I can scroll down to see his prompts and steal them for myself. How did Greg do this? He's really good at this. He must know. All right, implementing AI versus AI debate mode. He's telling it, do not screw up my UI. Like me, he also built the UI first before putting in some AI magic. He's invoking Anthropic Claude 3.5 Sonnet. Yoink. And then he is also creating an end file. I wonder how he got the API key. Let's see. Ooh, yeah. He probably just inputs his own API key for testing after he's done with this. So let me just get this working for myself first. Cursor. I do not want static translations of my slang using replacements in a text file. Instead, we want to use the LLM. All right, I think it's going to start using Claude to do my translations now. Moment of truth. Refresh. No! You know, it is the first time I've used the Anthropic API key, so I'm sure I'm doing something wrong. Cursor, please help. A secure backend has been created to handle the API calls. It sounds much better than just blasting the API key into the browser. I'm gonna hit the refresh button, and no change at all. So the backend was set up, but the front end was not using it. That's promising. Cursor is making the necessary changes, and nice. Back in business. I'm having a terrible time today. We got a real bumper crop of errors this time. What's up with that? Ooh, I see. It made a whole separate backend and a subfolder with its own node modules. I don't like it. Always gotta watch where it's creating its files. Files are proliferating all over the place. I don't want that backend. Package JSON and yarn lock. Shouldn't there just be yarn lock? 5 minutes of torture with cursor later, we're back in business. I feel ecstatic today. Oh. Let's try this with the SpecStory company Anthropic API. I just had the weirdest experience today. Let's go. Huh? Huh? Yes, yes, yes. Cool timeline animation here on CodePen. Let's see if we can enhance the design. Please use the following code as inspiration. CSS goes first, the HTML. I suspect that it's going to do way too much. Oh dear. Wholesale added it to the top instead of integrating it with my characters. I spared you so much CSS shenanigans. Cursor is not good at layout stuff. I had to deploy the rusty old front end skills to get this, which is... The slang for the generations is a little generic, so I made Perplexity do a bit more research on what Claude gave me. More examples of the slang to make this a little bit more compelling. Use the following generational examples to update the generation styles that we have in this project. Structure the data so it's tidy. Use the content below. 2 hours later, some very powerful draw the rest of the fucking owl energy here. I fixed the timeline down here, so we're really mathing here. Every year is 25 pixels, and I got my typography on point, and I just gotta adjust this little thing down here. I was also sad to see that these guys don't jump anymore. Make it so when I hover over each of these characters, they jump. Huh. There we go. Last thing is a fresh coat of paint. I've given Cursor a bunch of palettes from Color Hunt and told it to organize it nice and tidy here. It did a decently good job. Apply these colors to the bars. Okay, now Millennials needs a color. Millennials is missing color. As a millennial, I resent this. Eh? Very nice. I feel ecstatic and also kind of disturbed at the same time. Everybody has their say.